I'm excited today that I've got somebody that I fangirl over on social media because she's got such an incredible smile and an amazing infectious energy coupled with some really good commentary that she provides on reporting news. But today I've got Caroline Collins, who is a news anchor and reporter for Fox 26 Houston. So it's great to have you in the studio, Caroline.
It's so great to be here. I'm so excited. And I'm blown away at the office and just how everything and your employees, and it's just awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, one of my employees actually is the one that introduced us. Her name is Jacqueline Valle. She's our manager of talent acquisition and learning and development. And she went to a women's golf event. I think it was at River Oaks, or it might have been at Memorial Park.
Yeah, it was at Memorial
Park. And she said that you just captivated her attention. And she goes, Jeremy, you've got to meet this young lady. And so I'm glad that she made the intro and that you didn't ignore my DMs. I'm sure you get a lot of them.
No, of course not. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but
well,
yes.
good. Good. So the first thing that I'll bring up is we did a little bit of research on you, and I do know that that your dad was a professional PGA golf instructor. Mm-hmm. And so I know that probably influenced your big obsession with golf in adult life, right? And
yes. Golf is so hot right now.
Yeah. Is it so hot? I feel like everybody's
so
cool in golf
right now.
Everybody's cool. I went to the Live Golf tournament and got this merch right here.
Mm-hmm. I noticed it when I walked in.
Oh, did you really?
Did, yeah.
So I'm actually known as the GOAT on LinkedIn, self-proclaimed. It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But whenever I saw the Range Goats logo, I was like, oh my God, I have that.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta have that.
Yes.
So we'll ask you. So growing up in a family with a PGA golf instructor as a father, how did that shape your interests and career choices in life?
Well, I got to tell you, growing up at the country club, people think a lot of things about it. Country club, it's for a specific group of people. Well, what it did for me personally, now looking back at my life, was it put me in front of a lot of really important people, judges, politicians, lawyers. And, my dad was the head golf professional and general manager at a country club in Western Pennsylvania where I grew up. And I just always knew that successful people golfed. That's just what they did. And I just witnessed that from the time I was so little. And then just learning how to be so professional at the country club. We couldn't wear jeans. Yeah. We had to dress up, no denim. This was way back in the early 2000s. So they were very strict on their rules. There's still obviously country clubs, especially here in Houston, that are like that.
Oh, yeah.
Some other clubs have gotten more lax. But there's still that country club mentality of you have to dress up and you have to show up. Then once I started really golfing competitively, which I don't even remember learning how to golf because I played since I could walk. I don't even remember. I already knew how to hold a club. No one had to teach me that. That was just ingrained in me from my dad. So once I started playing golf competitively, that teaches you so much how to look at a person when you're frustrated and, say, good game, you played really well, and just the etiquette that you have to have. Yeah. And, I never wanted to be a professional golfer or anything. I always wanted to be a broadcast journalist. But that golf setting and even the country club setting, I feel like prepared me so well for the career I have now at Fox 26 as a main anchor, prime time. Yeah. It's just all the experiences I've had growing up, I feel like really did prepare me.
Absolutely. So you said, poise, etiquette, learning how to lose with grace, right? Learning how to win.
That was a big one.
Learning how to win with grace, I think, is a lost art nowadays too.
And even just being honest too. It really teaches you to be honest.
Point. Yeah. Oh, I saw you with that mulligan.
Exactly. If you in the early days when you're learning how to play competitively, you might have a lie that you've never had before on the course. And maybe it sounds embarrassing, but this happens to golfers as you're learning and getting competitive. If the ball is way above your feet, you might swing and miss or something. Yep. Well, that counts as a stroke. And there's other good players will be counting your swings and your shots. So you really do have to be honest, even though it really hurts. So it just it teaches you a lot. I think sports in general.
Certainly.
It's just golf was my experience and I'm so grateful for it.
Well, you'd mentioned something that kind of hurt my feelings. You said that all successful people are golfers. And I will say that if you invited me to do a round of golf, I would probably shoot a 122. No exaggeration. But I feel like there's been an emergence in the last few years of pickleball,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm a huge pickleballer. I wouldn't say that I'm like semi-pro by any stretch, but I think that that's where I really channel that competitive nature
awesome.
with still an element of like fitness and social. You know, whenever you show up to a court and you've got you and your partner, you're literally making friends with
You
perfect
are.
strangers.
And a lot of times
Yeah.
pickleball can be very, very casual and very fun. Here,
love
we can
it.
put it down here.
No.
I always have my phone. It just must be
Pickleball.
like a news anchor thing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I want to be a news anchor and put my phone on the
Yeah,
table.
I mean, I have to like keep up with everything that's going on. So I have like notifications for
Wow.
Fox 26, Fox News, because I work for we're a Fox O&O company,
Sure.
so I have their notifications. My bosses, if they like yesterday, I had to go into work like an hour early for some like really tragic breaking news. So it is difficult to get a news anchor to like not have the phone right there. I know it's probably like bad, but
yeah. So
it's
how
just
do you
part of my
ever
job.
turn off? I feel like you always have to be plugged in. You always have to have the data insights, the breaking news. And
yeah, I mean, it's
you're
just
always on call.
24/7. Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
But I mean, also, I have a great work-life balance on the weekends, but during the week, it's like pretty hectic Monday through Friday. A lot happens, and they really, like, they want the face that holds down the show Monday through Friday to, report on the big stories. So, like, yesterday, we had a very tragic story, and it was like, can you be in here early, hair and makeup ready? And it's like, yeah, you just do it.
Interesting. So one of my good friends, her name is Kelly Raybon. I don't know if you know Kelly, but she was an investigative reporter in San Antonio, had a very long, successful career. I don't know if she won an Emmy or anything like that, like Steve Campion, but whenever she'd gotten married and became a stay-at-home mom, she gave up her career. But now in her late 30s, she has this unbelievable poise and elegance in the way that she seeks to understand the why instead of jumping to conclusions. It's because of that investigative reporter background. You know what I'm saying, right? And so I want to ask you another thing that I learned about you is your parents. They entered you in beauty pageants whenever you were young. Can you share maybe like a standout moment from your beauty pageant days and how it maybe influenced the way that you carry yourself today? Or?
Yeah, well, I entered into pageants because my mom did some research on national broadcast journalists that we followed, like Robin Meade, and back at the time, like Gretchen Carlson, and several others who really were successful on the national level. So my mom was like, what's their story? Because I was pretty young. And she was like, wow, they were all Miss this or Miss that.
Interesting.
Went to Miss America or Miss USA. So that's whenever I got into pageants. And it really does, help with what I do now, which is thinking and working under pressure, thinking quickly, answering quickly, being prepared, looking professional, and just keeping yourself at a standard that I think it separates you from everyone else or your competition. I mean, that's what pageants truly do teach you. Competition, poise, grace, and how to work under pressure. And that's what I do every day at my job.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see it. And so one of my close friends, she's actually a previous podcast guest. Her name is Fallon Williams. Fallon is competing at Miss Texas tomorrow.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's actually tomorrow, and I wish her the best. I'm super excited for her. I think that she holds the title of Miss Tanglewood Houston, and that's how she qualified. But it's funny because I don't necessarily think there's like a monetary component that's going to really like be meaningful by winning Miss Texas, but it gives you access to so many different things by just being in the same room and being recognized as somebody at that level.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly how it all works now because I've been like I was like Miss Teen Pennsylvania, and then I competed a little in college, but I was a college athlete playing golf, so that was where most of my time was dedicated. So I don't know about the monetary situation for these pageants, but I do know that you can win big scholarships that apply to your education. You can win specific scholarships to specific organizations. So it's by no means a waste. There's a lot to gain, especially in the scholarship realm, and then just the opportunities that you get and the growth that you see on social media. I mean, it's definitely worth it. I mean, it can be life-changing for some women.
Absolutely. And then you look at a mutual friend of ours, Logan Lester, who was Miss Texas, I believe, in 2019, 2018. She's one of the top producing realtors in the city of Houston. Now, I happen to know her on a personal level and worked with her before. Her work ethic and quality is unrivaled.
Exactly. And the way she presents herself and the persistence on social media. I mean, mean, it just all stems from probably, I mean, I don't know her that well. She's amazing. I love following her. But, you know, that all stems from pageants and the growth that you receive through things like pageants. And I'll even say, you know, through competitive sports. You just learn so much. It's a grind. You have to work really hard at it, and it translates into your career.
Absolutely. So you did mention that you were a golfer in college. And so one of the articles that I read, it said that you won several events and you even made 2 hole-in-ones in a 2-week span. Can you tell us about a moment in your golfing life on maybe how that impacted your confidence or something along those lines?
Golf, first of all, you go from playing the red tees in high school to a lot of like 9-hole matches to then playing 18-hole tournaments, back-to-back days, sometimes even 27 or 36 holes. And then you're playing from the white tees, which is like 6,500 yards, which even for a very long hitter like myself, that was such a huge challenge. So freshman year was pretty rough. Also, we had some seniors on the team that just weren't very nice, that tried to create division amongst our teammates freshman year. So I honestly hated it so bad freshman year, wanted to quit, wanted to give up, was super frustrated, wasn't playing my best. But then just everything changed sophomore, junior, and senior year. At least the underclassmen, we all became best friends. I just started to relax and just got used to playing from the longer distance and started winning tournaments, got some holes in one, and made the best friends and had the best time. So I'm so glad that I didn't give up and quit, because I mean, I was so close to it. I mean, when you go into a tournament and you're shooting 10 strokes above what you were shooting in high school, I mean, you really are like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
And I was on full ride too. So that's like an added pressure.
Yeah. And it just goes to show like how much your environment and your mindset can impact your golf game, you know? And,
it really can. And my dad used to tell me, you know, there's a couple tips that he would tell me. Like, first of all, you need to go out there and you need to have fun. And I think that we've seen that even recently with the pros like Bryson DeChambeau, who just won the U.S. Open. He's out there having fun with the fans, with golf in general, on social media. And he is now the U.S. Open champion. I mean, amazing. And I think, you know, just being out there and enjoying it truly helps. I've played some of my best tournaments when I was like, whatever. And then boom, I'll win or be the low scorer for the high school, all the high schools in the Valley. So I think you first and foremost have to have fun. And my dad always told me that. But like when your dad's telling you something, you're just like, okay. I did really listen to him about the fundamentals of golf because he is a pro. So he does extremely know what he's talking about with that. But, you know, like advice, like, just go out and have fun. I'm like, you go out and have fun. You know, like this isn't fun right now. But once I started having fun, that really helped. And then my dad would always say, it's like basic sports psychology. Don't hit it in the water. Say, hit it down the left side of the fairway. Or don't hit this putt too hard. Just, you know, hit this putt nice and easy. Like river. You know
so
what I mean?
Positive reinforcement as opposed to fearing failure, right?
Yeah,
manifesting greatness. Absolutely.
And then you have to be pretty exact. I mean, if you listen to Bryson DeChambeau, who just won the U.S. Open, or even Nelly Korda, who is just on fire on the LPGA Tour, they are very precise. I mean, all the pros are. I'm just using those two as examples, especially Bryson. They're so precise about everything. I mean, they know exactly how far they can hit their shots, and they know what a 3-foot putt is. They know what a 6-foot putt is. Like, they know they're very precise. So really getting precise on how you're hitting shots and what you're doing out there on the course, that also really helps. Yeah,
and I think that precision is derived from repetition, right?
Totally.
I mean, you can't just come up with the exact recipe for success if you don't A/B test things 100,000 times to figure out, and right? Hey, my muscle is feeling this way. I need to maybe, you know, make this switch, right?
Well,
it's about repetition.
And then it's, you know, you got to know how to adjust because you know, people think that golf might be an easier sport or like a less aggressive sport. Golf injuries are very real. I struggled through some like sciatic back injuries in college. You're walking miles and miles carrying your bag.
That's
so
true.
like you do have to learn how to play through challenges, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think like learning how to adapt in golf, when you're out there on the course for like 6 hours and you're, it's not going right, but learning how to play through that completely, all of this applies directly to a future career or just like your life in general. Like you have to learn how to overcome and adapt.
Absolutely. And so you'd mentioned something earlier about, I think it was yesterday, that you had gotten called in for like a very intense story to report on. And so I do want to ask you, what was the most challenging story that you've ever covered as a general assignment field reporter, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, so yesterday here in Houston, it's so sad. We've been following this horrible story of this little girl in North Houston, 12 years old. She was found dead in a creek on Monday, and come to find out yesterday, they made 2 arrests. They tracked Houston Police Department. Great job on them. They tracked down these 2 suspects. They made 2 arrests at this apartment complex. One of them is in the country illegally. They're both in their 20s. So we still have a lot of questions that need to be answered. And those questions could be answered by the time this podcast comes out. We don't know why that little 12-year-old even ended up with these 2 guys. Why would they be in a convenience store and then walk her down to like a bridge and then that's where she's found dead? I mean, there's just so many questions. We spoke with her mother yesterday, who's just devastated. The mayor was at the press conference yesterday, basically just saying like, you're not going to do this in the city of Houston, and the justice system needs to do the right thing to make sure that these guys stay locked up and don't get out on bond. Because at Fox 26, we cover a lot of stories called, out on bond or breaking bond, and it's like these criminals get out on bond and then create other heinous crimes. It's so crazy. So that's what happened yesterday, and that's one of several stories this week that have been crazy. But I think that one like hits your heart. That's the one that makes you the most upset. And I do a pretty good job about separating my work from how I feel personally. I've been doing this for almost 10 years. But when it involves a 12-year-old little girl, and then, the way too, like when we talked to her mom, that her mom basically was like trying to find her and is like running around everywhere and like pings her phone at a location and like walks up to this location. It's like taped off and all the police are there. I mean, gut-wrenching, horrible. So, that's the part of my career that like is sad. But I think the stories that like hit me the most were probably straight out of college when I was working in Erie, Pennsylvania. Because you're so new to the field, you're not 100% prepared for what you're going to see or encounter. And oh my gosh, this one story, it was so sad. I'll never forget his name. Tyler Cavato was working as with the waste department as like a garbage pickup person, and was like standing on the back of the truck, and he was young, like in his 20s, and the truck backed up into a pool. And this happened to be on the street I lived on in the middle of the night. And then he's just laying there, and I like come out because my boss called me like in the middle of the night, and then I started covering the story, and it's like, oh my gosh. Then I met his sister, and I covered all these fundraisers, and it's just like an ongoing story then. And you're just not really like mentally prepared for that when you graduate college. Like, no, how can you be like, my professors told us, you're gonna see people who are dead on the street. You're gonna see really tragic, crazy things happen, but how do you it's probably like working in an ER. Like, how do you really prepare for that until you're there and see it,
Yeah, you can watch it as much as you want on TV, cold cases and things of that nature, but until you're actually boots on the street.
Doctors will tell you, like, you're going to see that, but until you actually experience it and see it, and then you're forming relationships with these people, and it just makes it even more hard. So, yeah, I would say, like, those are the saddest stories. I think the best stories to cover are when, somebody calls us with a problem, and we do this a lot at Fox 26. Randy Wallace does a great job with it.
Yeah.
Someone will call us with a problem, like I don't know, they can't get their water turned back on, or there's like their water bill is exorbitantly high for literally no reason. And then we come out and we do the story and we call the right people, and then boom, the issue's fixed.
Yep.
So, or sometimes we don't even have to do the story. We just make a little phone call, and it's like, oh, boom, we fixed the problem. Like, it's all good now. It's like, oh, because that poor person was trying for 6-12 months to get that resolved. So I think that's like where we can really serve the community, is really fixing things. Or when we do a story story, and we also do these stories a lot where there's someone who's sick or ill or a tragedy happened and they're in a really bad situation, and through our coverage it brings awareness to them, and like maybe their GoFundMe blows up, maybe somebody, this has happened to me personally, like someone from the community will call the station and be like, I really want to help this person. I don't want to like be public about it. And they'll like send them money or pay for their treatment or like, you know, really help them just from seeing our coverage. So I think that that's where our career is very fulfilling.
Yeah. And it's funny because, you know, the reason why it seems like after Fox 26 makes a call and it gets resolved immediately is because they fear that negative publicity, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a great segue in talking about your social influence and what you've created over the last 8 years, right? You know, to some extent, you have equivalent to the influence of what Fox has, just with your personal brand.
Thank you.
You know, and so like you've got, I had to look right before we came on, over 1.6 million followers on TikTok, over 55 million likes, obviously hundreds of thousands on Instagram. I want to ask you this. Hopefully, this induces a very good feeling or memory. But what was your very first viral moment on social media? And then how did that change your entire approach to content creation?
Oh, so I got my master's degree in communication technology.
Okay, flex.
Yeah, with a social media specialization from where I went to undergrad at Point Park University. I did that all while I was working full-time as a news anchor in Youngstown, Ohio, which is my hometown viewing area. I'm from Western PA, but that is the viewing area, is Youngstown, Ohio. So I was working at the station that I grew up watching, and that was a really special job. And I just said, you know what? I can see where this career is going, because I remember doing my very first Facebook Live, because that came out at my very first job out of college. I graduated in 2015. And I was like, this is where this career is going. Actually, through my Facebook Lives, because I kind of caught on to that trend. Like, this is making me sound so old right now. How crazy. But I actually got flown out to like a huge interview opportunity with the Home Shopping Network through my like makeup Facebook Live videos that used to blow up. Like, this is how like long ago this is, you know? So, gosh, 2015 feels like a whole different world looking back. But anyway, so I got my master's degree because I knew that this is where this career is heading, is the digital side. And I was like, all right, what's going to happen to broadcast journalism? I need to prepare myself. This digital side is everything. I don't even know what I would do if I wasn't a broadcast journalist. I mean, I entered into this field where like my Instagram was on private. Like we didn't have to do Instagram. It was just Facebook. Like this is almost 10 years ago. Gosh, things changed so much. So anyway, I suffer through 2 years of my master's degree program, and I graduated in 2019 with my master's degree. And I was like, everything that I'm learning in my master's degree, I could actually apply to me as the brand.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of when I started thinking more about myself as a brand and less just about a person who works for a news outlet. Okay. And there's a big difference in that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a huge difference in that. So, and actually now that I work at Fox 26, our general manager really loves it. Like, we all have a personal brand. He talks about that a lot, but not everybody sees it like that, right? So it's really cool that he does. But anyway, I started realizing the importance of trends on social media, and you need to be on the forefront of trends. Those trends have looked different throughout the years, right? Well, Instagram Reels drop when I am in Fresno, California, working as a morning news anchor. This was back in like 2022. Like, what is Reels? Like, oh, Instagram's trying to be TikTok or something. And I was already posting on TikTok a lot. I started posting on TikTok before the pandemic. So anyway, I had like a little bit of a following there. My Instagram, you know, had maybe like 20,000 on Instagram. I was like, this is where it's going to be, is Reels.
Excellent. Yeah.
So I start posting like 3 Reels a day.
Okay.
And just absolutely freaking blow up. Like, I was with my co-anchor.
On whatever was trending, the goofy stuff.
The trending sounds.
Yeah. Okay.
Because at that time, Reels were so new. And this sounds crazy because, again, this is like 2022. Reels were maybe 2021. regardless. Reels were like this new thing. I'd already been on TikTok. So actually, I think I started to just repurpose my TikTok videos and just throw them up on Reels.
Yeah.
And it just started to explode. And then people really like loved the dynamic between me and my coworker in Fresno, California, Brody Logan. We had so much fun. He always acted like this grumpy newsman.
Yep.
And like he hated me, but we're actually really close friends. And we would just start making this funny content.
Yeah.
And so basically my social media really started to blow up when I was in Fresno, but it wasn't like one defining moment. It was the persistence of posting 2 to 3 reels a day for over a year. At the least, I would post 1. At the most, I would post 3. And then same formula on TikTok. I was posting 1 to 3 TikToks a day for well over a year. This is like close to 2 years. And that's like really how I feel like I got my social media to like blow up. There were like a couple of videos which were like get ready with me videos or like just following me through because I worked morning news at the time. So people really loved me waking up at like 2:30 in the morning and like doing my makeup at 4 a.m. So it was a combination of like total persistence and then just like, you know, finally a couple of them caught on. And that's really what it still is for me is just persistence. And then like, you know, me and my co-anchor just had one video here in Houston that like blew up and it was just a funny video.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what companies or news organizations need to realize. Like I put out hard news videos all the time. Like I shared the story of the 12-year-old who was found dead this week on my social media. And that's really important stuff to share. And it's really cool that I can get information out to a large audience quickly and efficiently. But social media is meant to be social, right?
Yeah,
to have
absolutely.
fun. People don't always want to be scrolling on their phone, like getting depressing and horrible news. Like they want to laugh. They want to know who you are. They want to know, like, you know, you went to the Live golf tournament. That's awesome. And like made a video there. How cool is that? And that makes you more human and more relatable. So I really do try to give a combination of like the fun, makeup, silly, my personality and like the important hard news. But look, I got the audience there with my personality. And now when there is important information that needs to get out, I have 1.6 million. I have over 300,000 people on my Instagram. I have 70,000 on Facebook that like I can get that information to. So I think that it's just always like a constant battle in my position of like, are you being serious enough? Or like, you know.
Well, I think that's something that I personally struggle with because, you know, you'd spoken about how when you had gotten your education, you'd said, hey, I can utilize these best practices and really invest in my personal brand, not just the company brand, right? Because at the end of the day, even when you change markets, it's your personal brand that follows you, right? And that's one of the things that I struggle with because you have Jeremy Jensen, that brand that I've got on social media that is the GOAT persona on LinkedIn, right? Where I tell very engaging, open, honest, vulnerable stories about failure and triumph in business. Then you've got the Instagram brand where, you know, we might be at CL on a Thursday night popping a bottle, right? You know, and I'm driving exotic cars and I'm hanging out with affluent individuals. And then you've got like the corporate side where it's like, you know, my clients are law firm partners, private equity partners, wealth management partners. And a lot of these folks are like very white, maybe that was a Freudian slip, white, right-wing, conservative individuals that maybe don't, you know, agree to being as flashy with a nice watch or a nice car, right? And so I have to be very cognizant of throttling some of the content that I organically want to put out there. But I guess the difference is there's no regulatory body like you've got your executive producers, you know? And so, you know, sometimes this doesn't happen anymore, but I would post something at like midnight and then I'd wake up at 7 a.m. and I'd have a text from my COO being like, Jeremy, come on, you know? And so,
well, you know, but that's like, you know, something that you have to navigate on your own. I intentionally always keep my social media all public and I don't use any close friends or anything because basically to me, social media is more like a job.
Okay.
And I just think that whatever I share should be able to be shared with anyone that I work with, my news audience and my personal audience. And I would be so fearful of like a slip up of a close friend thing.
You're right.
And we've seen it happen before to celebrities and different people.
Look at Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. So I'm like, anything that my close friends are seeing is what you all are seeing as well. So that's kind of how I work social media in that way.
Yeah.
But like I still am getting yelled at all the time over this or that, you know. It's like a constant battle.
Yeah. Well, it's time to start your own media production company. There you go. I'll plant the seed as a fellow entrepreneur. But what I'll say is that you know, sometimes our brands can be this beacon of inspiration to our followers, especially if someone's followed one of us for 4 years, 5 years, and seen our growth journey, right? And remembered the humble beginnings and where we are now, whether it's the way that we dress or the way that we look or the social network that we have, the poise, the confidence that we carry ourselves. So I do want to ask you, right? Because I think that with your brand, like authenticity is a really big thing. And so I want you to share a story with our listeners about something that you did or learned of that really resonated with one of your followers and how it changed their lives. Can you give me something?
So, well, this is a reason why I wanted to launch my own podcast called Big Bites with Caroline Collins. And it was so overwhelming to launch season 1. Yeah. Season 2 is coming soon. Okay. So I'm excited about that.
Big bites, like sound bites or eat bites?
You know? Whatever you want to think about it. Honestly, I was just like trying to name it something that was like crazy and funny. Okay. And I'm like so obsessed with food. Okay. And I take the biggest bites on TV. There and like my parents always made fun of me. But yeah, you know what? It could be sound bites too. I never really thought about that. But no, it's like me just being like a foodie. But I feel like it's really cool because now a lot of our interns are longtime followers of me on TikTok and Instagram, which is so cool. And they were like, you know, we've been watching you and our college professor brought you up in class. I've heard this from like multiple people. I'm like, what? I'm a case study now? What? And, you know, as an example of a way to successfully use social media, I'm like, well, I'm in the office like every other week over some stupid, like, well, why'd you post this? Why'd you post that? Anyways, I'm like, thank you. So I think that that's really cool. I think, you know, people, whether my industry likes it or not, we do have influence over people and they see what I'm wearing, or I do a lot of makeup videos and they'll be like, wow, I had no idea how to do my makeup for like a job interview, whether it's in TV or not. And I watched your tutorial and I just like basically copied your look and it worked out great. Just like little things like that have been super cool. But I think maybe the best would be when I share news stories. Like there was a fugitive situation and a big standoff, and I was giving like live updates on TikTok. And they were like going crazy. It was serious. This is in Houston. And people were like, oh my gosh, that's by my house. Thank you so much. Because I was their news source for that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Like, thank you. Like, wow, we're locking our doors. Because sometimes people, you know, they're not journalists. They don't have 10 10 different news apps of all the channels here in Houston.
You can't wait for the 6 p.m. news. You know, you have to get it in real time.
I know. And like, you know, a person like me, I have all of our like competition news apps. And I'm following all of them on social media. It's like, I'm getting the news updates quick, but people don't have that. So they're relying on me to be their source of information. And I've yet to cover a hurricane here, but I'm sure that's like going to be insane. And I've heard stories from my coworkers on how social media has helped them spread the word on like, okay, this area is flooded. And, you know, just really it's nice to have a big audience to like get important information out too. But it's just so cool to like see people being like, you inspired me, you motivated me, you helped me with this, you helped me with that. I didn't know about, you know, this is a career opportunity. So that's been rewarding.
Well, that's good. Well, you talked about, you know, fugitives on the loose. You'd mentioned you haven't yet been in a Houston hurricane yet, but I've definitely seen you in tornadoes. Oh my gosh.
How about these tornadoes? Did you grow up here?
I grew up here. Yeah, in Sugar Land.
What is up with these tornadoes now? Do you ever remember tornadoes like this?
No, not really.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah. It is crazy.
I mean, I'm not a meteorologist, so I cannot go into the scientific backing of why that's happening. But we've covered now several. How about the one that just came and hit downtown and like all those windows blew out and people are dying? It's absolutely crazy. I grew up in like a place, Pennsylvania, where tornadoes rip through there. So
you had to be scared of the Amish.
I like grew up like a town over from all the Amish. We go get like their vegetables. They make really good pies and stuff. Yeah, that's so funny. They actually built my parents a new deck recently. Yeah, like that's like our workforce.
Do they accept tips? Or do they just do it?
No, they charge.
Oh, okay.
I think my dad pays them in cash.
I love that.
Obviously.
Okay, yeah, they don't have credit cards.
No, but so like a lot of people would hire, I don't know, whoever does. I don't own a house. I live in an apartment here. You know, but in Pennsylvania, when you source for work, it's like the Amish that's doing it. So literally, yes. And My mom would have to do.
So like the people that we have hanging outside of Home Depot in Houston, that's
the
like
Amish.
the Amish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you said it and I didn't. Yeah. I never like really experienced that until I went to Home Depot here and I was like, what are all these people doing? I was like, oh, they like are offering to do work. I'm oh my gosh. I never experienced that. But anyway, it is the Amish in Pennsylvania. They do fabulous work. They're efficient. We've had several things done by the Amish at home. They're it's great, but it's different for people who like haven't experienced it. They literally don't have electricity. They have like fire burning stoves and fireplaces, and it gets really cold there. And they wear Amish clothing. I mean, it is. But I just grew up with that, so I didn't think it was anything weird. I just was like, oh, there's the Amish people at Walmart again.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, they have no idea who you are because they don't have media outlets.
Weird, huh?
They're not on TikTok. They're not on Instagram. That's the one place that you can go, and then no one's going to recognize you and leave you alone.
Valant, PA. That's like a town over from where I'm from.
There you go. Awesome. Well, good. So we talked about, some of the demanding experiences that you have to go through specifically as a field reporter, maybe not necessarily as an anchor, but you did a story for NBC's Today Show about America's spookiest house. And so I want you to share more about that experience and what came about that.
Yeah. So honestly, if this career has taught me anything, it's just be prepared for whatever at any time. Okay. Like you don't know when the next big thing is going to happen and you don't know when you're going to find yourself on national TV. So I got a call from my news director in Fresno and she was like, Today Show needs you tomorrow at 4 a.m. Or I think my hit was at like, it would have been East Coast time. So maybe like 8 a.m. East Coast time. Yeah. So it was like 5 a.m. In California. And they were going all throughout the country, doing like the best decorated Halloween houses. There was one in our market. And I was the NBC affiliate. And they needed me. And then boom, I was live on the Today Show with Hoda Kotb and all the big ones. So it was like Al Roker, Savannah Guthrie. It was so awesome. Love them. Grew up watching the Today Show actually. And you just have to be ready for whatever comes your way because I was not expecting a call from the Today Show. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. I found myself on National Fox News the other day. I was like, whoa, okay, well, didn't know that was going to happen. What do you mean you
find yourself? So they invite you and you're on live, or do they repurpose some of your content?
The Today Show requested a reporter for the spooky house. National Fox pulled a clip from Fox 26 that I was on, but so many people were watching and I'm like, phone starts blowing up. So you kind of have to treat every day. And this is like a hard mindset to get into, but I think this applies to every career. You have to treat every day like it's the biggest opportunity of your life.
Interesting.
Because you don't know if something is going to happen that is a huge deal or that could put you in a position to network with some people who are doing the job that you dream of doing. And so that can be challenging sometimes because even though I'm on TV, sometimes you just have those days where you're like, I'm tired and I don't feel like. But it's like, no, you have to just get past it, drink some coffee, look your best, feel your best, do your best. And because you just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, especially, so we found out that we're neighbors before we came on the podcast, especially when you live where we're at and you go to the restaurants that we go to and the gyms that we work at, is you never know who that person is that's sitting next to you at the table, right? It could be your future boss. It could be a future client. It could be a future spouse. You never know. And so I don't necessarily think that you need to always be on, but like you have to be very cognizant about the way that you carry yourself, the way that you interact. You'd mentioned something earlier about not having the close friends, right? And then that crutch that you think that maybe it gives you of being like, oh, well, I can post this because these people I trust. I tend to adopt the same mentality whenever it comes to sending text messages where it's like, I can be screenshot at any time by anyone. And so I've had girls tell me like, wow, you're so professional, and it's like, well, I don't.
I fully agree with you, and that's a great point. I actually know people in the local news industry who have close friends who have then been screenshotted and have had embarrassing things published about them on certain sites that talk about local news or whatever. So you might think that you have some close friends.
Sure.
Like literally you need to act like no one is your real friend, but at the same time be able to sort through and really do know who your close friends are, because there's nothing better than having great relationships.
Sure.
I have a lot of very close friends that I trust dearly, but I also feel like it takes me a while to get to that point. And still, you should still be really careful about what you're posting and sending.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, so you talk about having close, dear friends. I will say that, my close friends that I had in college, fast forward 10 years, now I'm married, I've got 3 kids, I've built a very successful business. A lot of those individuals that were close back then maybe carried an element of like jealousy or resentment because of what I had created. And so even though they may have known a lot about me, maybe that resentment could have bred some type of a leak or something of that nature,
what?
right?
That's
and
a
so
great
like
point.
you never know that of what's going on in somebody's mind, what emotions your content induces.
Totally. And I think that it's really important. I'm very lucky to live and work here in Houston, where people generally are very nice and very welcoming. It's like Southern hospitality here. I love it. But you have to be okay with the fact that people are going to get jealous, that people are going to get mean or mad at you or treat you a certain way just because they're unhappy with their own life. And that's a difficult pill to swallow when you're a genuinely happy and not jealous person. So I've been so lucky that most of my friends are very supportive and very kind. But I think when you are doing well for yourself, unfortunately, you have to kind of let yourself know that not everybody's going to be your friend and not everyone's going to be happy for you.
Yeah. And one of the reasons why I think that those friends have remained so close and loyal over the years is because they've seen how hard you had to work in order to get what you have, right? You didn't just fall into becoming a billionaire's wife and now you're on a yacht in Saint Tropez,
that
right?
would be nice. There's still time.
There's still time. But the point that I'm making is like, they remember the posts that you did 8 years ago when you got 17 likes,
It was so funny because like now when I see all my old college teammates, they're like, oh my gosh, Caroline, we called this. It's like they all were like, we knew you were going to be like, which I love because I feel like it has always been in my personality. But we're all kind of like doing what we set out to do in college, which is so cool. Like each one of us really kind of is fitting into our groove of what we went to school for. Like my best friend from college, Chloe, that I lived with, she majored in pre-med and then went to PA school and now she's a physician's assistant. Like amazing, love that. And we all still get together and golf. So again, very lucky to have a group of nice girls that are still my cheerleaders to this day. But like also people will ask them about me like, wait, why does Caroline on TV follow you? And they're like, oh, Caroline? Like, yeah, she's she's a close friend. It's just, they know me from like, when I was no one. I still feel like I'm no one.
You were that freshman getting mean girled by the seniors.
So it's like it's funny because the people that really know me are like, oh yeah, but that's how I am though. The social media is so normal to me now. My job is so normal that like I'm just still on the grind like everyone else.
Yeah, no, I can definitely resonate with that as well. And so I will ask you, so what piece of advice would you give to aspiring broadcast journalists who want to make a mark, but then they want to like leverage social media and traditional media as well?
Totally. And I've actually been thinking about this question a lot lately because I'm not sure that I even have the best answer to give to young people who want to get into broadcast journalism or multimedia journalism. Like now the position is called an MMJ, a multimedia journalist, because you shoot your own video, you edit your own video, you have to post across multiple platforms, web posts, social media posts. It's really crazy and it's really overwhelming. And so, with me getting my master's degree in communication technology with a social media specialization, I almost lead more towards that direction now because I feel like it's broader and it opened my eyes to so many other careers aside from broadcast journalism. Do I think there will always be a need for journalism? Yes. But it almost is like, I almost want to say like, I don't know. I don't want to give the wrong advice, I've been thinking about this a lot. I really have. I almost want to say maybe major in mass communication, maybe double major in mass communications and broadcast journalism.
Okay.
Maybe major in mass comm with like a minor in broadcast journalism and get the right internships at the places that you want to get internships with. And then I would almost say like think bigger and broader. Don't just limit yourself to local news, right? So maybe get an internship at a local news place and do a kick-ass job at it. Like go out with the reporter, shoot stand-ups, put together a reel of clips of you on camera, but then maybe go get an internship at Netflix or Google or Amazon or like what are the big social media companies? Like get an internship with TikTok, like Instagram, Meta, YouTube. Think outside the box because you might find that you have like a career path in one of these other media outlets. And I just don't want people to limit themselves. Back when I graduated high school in 2011. So my route was very traditional and, you know, we didn't have like all of these different streaming platforms and everything, but I just feel like the sky is really the limit and you don't have to go down a traditional path. I think that working as a local news journalism builds a lot of credibility and really shows that you're a hard worker, but I don't think that that's the end all be all. I think there's multiple ways that you can go about a successful career in front of the camera or behind the camera, especially with social media. So I would say think broader. Like don't just think, oh, I want to be a local news reporter. I would think of podcasts that you can intern at. I mean, look at these podcasting networks. There's networks that run very successful podcasts. Maybe you could intern at Spotify. So I just think broader. Does that make sense? I feel like that would be like...
absolutely. Don't limit yourself by what's already been done. Think forward,
and
right? And
always be, once you get into your career, once you get your degree, or maybe you don't go to school and you're working in a field, just always be ready to pivot. Like and I feel like because I did get, and I'm not saying that getting your master's degree or education is the only way to learn how to pivot, but talk to people like Jeremy or people that you work with or maybe like your parents' friends or just like adults that you meet that are successful in their careers and just figure out a way to like talk to them to figure out what they're doing so that you can come up with a plan to pivot because I think that a lot of us get to a point in our career where we do have to make a sharp pivot and it's like, whoa, I think I know what I would do. But I mean, it's even a scary thought for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. I mean, what I'm hearing is, you know, you're probably most influential years in your career are very early on, right? Because just a little 5% trajectory change could change the outlook of your entire career.
Totally.
And that could be the difference of that internship at ABC 13 or that internship at Netflix and the exposure that you've gotten with that.
And I think a lot of us are so limiting. Like, you're like, oh, well, I'm only like a junior in this little school in Pennsylvania. Like, I freaking wish that I would have like thought bigger and applied to bigger internships. If you're not taking the traditional school route, like look into digital marketing, look into real estate, look into all kinds of different things. But anything that you do is going to take some really hard work. It's going to take time. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take dedication. It's going to be a hassle. It might even cost you money at first, you know, to get your real estate license or whatever you want to do, or like start a pool cleaning business or whatever it may be. But like, just look at the broader picture and try to just go bigger. Like, don't think that just because you're from this little suburb of Houston that like you're not going to get an opportunity. I think if you apply to 600 things, you're bound to get one of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, if the content is good, right?
Yeah.
So I will tell you that I took away two things. So you'd said develop that curious mindset, you know, seek advice, consume media that motivates and inspires you.
That's very important.
Absolutely.
My podcast, well, when we were chatting,
Big Bites.
Yeah, well, no, I mean the podcast that I personally listen to aside from my own.
Sure.
Yeah, I did listen to a lot of Call Her Daddy.
There
I'm
we
an
go.
original fan, okay? I love it. I'll always love that
I love
podcast.
it.
Highly successful. Take marketing tips from her, right? She's a genius at that, Alex Cooper. But also expand what you are consuming.
Yeah. And what did she sell it for?
Oh
like
my gosh. I mean,
400 million
she
or something.
signed like a Spotify deal for like 60 million for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, she is a girl from Pennsylvania who is very close to my age.
Yeah.
So she was an innovative thinker and the sky's the limit for her. But okay, that's like one crazy podcast about like relationships, and now it's like celebrity interviews. That's fun and mindless to listen to. But I would encourage people to listen to Mel Robbins, okay? She's amazing. She is like motivating and telling you how to improve your life. I listen to The Pursuit of Wellness. I listen to The School of Greatness. Like all your podcasts, like all these podcasts that just put you in the right mindset to be motivated and to go after what you want. Don't keep changing your social media feed is very important too. Okay. If you're trying to lose weight, we do not need every best restaurant in Houston popping up on your feed. We do not need recipes.
I get what you're saying.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of the unfollows.
Go unfollow, clean out your feed, go seek out health, gym, fitness.
Yep.
All of like my feed now is like positive. It's so funny because it's like news, which I need.
Sure.
And then it's like Mel Robbins and like healthy videos and workouts and health foods. And it's like, a lot of Europe because I'm going to Europe. And so I've curated my social media feed to align with my life. And I think that that's so important. If you are like young and in college, or if you're like in the middle of your life and like you just want to improve your life, like change your feed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let the machine learning component learn you by engaging on the content that makes you better. Totally. And then just that unfollow or mute or something along those lines can go a long way. So you'd mentioned something about once upon a time listening to Call Her Daddy. So that's a great segue to what does the dating life of Caroline Collins look like? And how has your social media or career affected it?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And I used to, back in the day, before my Instagram was anything, I did used to like use Instagram a little bit more of like a dating app, and I would like meet guys via Instagram and then, you know, meet up and everything. This is like back in college. Yeah. But then when my Instagram started blowing up, that literally like went down the toilet. Yeah. So because it was just so overwhelming.
Yeah,
and
I couldn't even imagine.
I think it actually is a deterrent for men to even try. Like, she has that many followers.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think I would be excited about it.
No.
Yeah.
So when I was in Fresno, I was single for a while and then met my boyfriend. Like, we started dating like 4 months before I moved to Houston. Yeah. Great timing.
Yeah.
But he has since moved to Houston as well. And
that's awesome.
He's so cool and so amazing and never cared about Instagram or TikTok at all. And was just like, oh, it's Caroline, you know?
This is your business.
Yeah, so
and he's supportive of it.
He does.
Absolutely.
He lets me do my thing. I actually want him to start making his profiles public. And he's like, I don't think I'd want all those people looking at me. Like, that's weird.
What kind? I mean, you look at like Logan's husband, right? And she's helped influence him actually embracing social media.
See, maybe
I think he was like a former pro hockey player. Okay. What does your boyfriend do?
He works for a medical sales company, and he was literally the #1 salesperson in his company. And now he works in management for that company and manages the entire state of Texas.
That's exciting. Well, you guys could be this power couple on social media if you wanted.
Like, well, we could easily start like a couple's Instagram, but 100%. He also is like so good at sales and marketing. I'm like, people like that would be great, but not everybody wants to be a public figure and put their whole persona out there.
Well, I think that you can control the character that you play on social media. You don't need to be a Pookie, right?
Oh my gosh, I just sent him one of those videos. Yes, I was like, we should do this video. He's like, oh my gosh, no. So I think that though that balances us out really well. Like I'm like the very public one, front-facing one, and he is like, you do your thing, you're amazing, I'll help you shoot any content, but like I'm good.
Yeah, well, good. Well, what are you most excited about over the next 6 months? Give me some insight on some exciting things going on.
Oh my gosh. So many trips, but that's like not professional, but I'm still excited because you have to have a good work-life balance, okay? And I value my vacation time, and I know you're still getting
the news updates.
Yes, so I have some really fun trips coming up. I'm gonna get to go to London and Paris for the first time in the south of France. So that's coming up, and I'm thrilled about that. But work-wise, I will be launching season 2 of my podcast, Big Bites with Caroline Collins. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I have some work to do on it. So I'm thinking maybe, it's June. So maybe like by July it'll be relaunched, and I'm gonna focus in on that. TikTok, Instagram at Caroline on TV, X Threads at Caroline on TV. And then you can watch me on Fox 26 News at 5. And 10 p.m. every night. I'm always on the 5 and the 10 p.m., but I'm oftentimes in the 6 and the 9 o'clock news as well. And we have this really cool thing at Fox 26 called Fox Local, and it's an app that you can just download on your smart TV. It's literally like Netflix for local news. Me and my co-anchor do a show called Caroline and Rashi every day. It's live on our website and it's live on Fox Local, and you can binge watch us on there. And we talk just like, it's like girlfriend hour.
Yeah.
It's so fun. We talk about everything, like celebrities to local celebrities to
Do you ever bring on
Houston.
guests?
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
I don't know if you can handle like the two of us though. It's pretty girly. It's pretty girly.
I'm a goss queen, just so you know.
Our target audience is like stay-at-home moms and our parents and our girlfriends.
I love that.
feel, but like if you're a guy, check it out. It's called Caroline and Rashi. You'll see it all you have to do is literally search Fox Local and like add it to your smart TV. And then if you're not in Houston, just click Fox 26 Houston and then you'll see it. And then I have another show on there called The Collab with Caroline.
Excellent.
And that's still going through some like changes and kind of making it into what we want it to be. But that's fun as well. And then you'll catch me out covering things also in the community. I don't just sit on the anchor desk. We're out like if the Houston Rodeo is in town, obviously when that happens in the winter, like we're there. Breaking news stories, they'll send us out on that. If the weather gets bad, you might see me. So if you ever do see me in the community, please introduce yourself and say hi. I love making connections and I love being a part of the community. And also, you know, at events, I MC a lot of events and everything. So just come say hi. I'd really appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, it's been so exciting getting to know you over the past hour. I feel like you're 100% aligned with who I thought that I was going to meet today. But I'm excited to call you a friend, and hopefully that our listeners got some good content today.
This was so fun.
Awesome.
Now I need to have you on my show and get to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much, Jeremy.